All right, well, welcome everyone and welcome to Tech Tips Live. It is a beautiful August day here in Goshen, Indiana. The sun is out and really can't complain. It's only hitting about 80 these days and cooling off at night, but the days are shortening, so fall is coming. Thanks so much for joining us here live, or if you're watching this recording later on. Today, as usual, we're going to do this live. Jen's going to talk to us about tuning visualizations, what you see on the screen. If you have questions, we do have a Q&A up there on the top bar or on the side, depending on where you're at. Put your questions in there. We will answer them as we go, or we will answer them at the end when we get there. We will get a recording of this posted in the next couple of days, so you can come back and review it or send it on to someone in your company who might get value from it. And as always, we welcome your feedback and ideas for other Tech Tips Live. We're already starting to think about 2023 and what we're going to do next year. Thinking about the format, we may change things up a little bit again and try and figure out ways to continue to reach a bigger audience all the time. So, Jen, you want to go? You already flipped to the next screen. Thanks a lot. All right. So again, you all know me, Phil Mason here, and I've got Jen, who sometimes has been in the host chair, but today she is doing the TTL. How's that feel, Jen?
I'm excited. I told Phil earlier, it's kind of like doing training, and I missed that part of my job. So I appreciate you letting me try it out again.
All right. Well, it's great to have you doing this today, Jen. You know, one of the great things we've got at Hertzler is we have people who have worked in the field doing technical things and really continue to, as well as like Jen and Jenny Lee, who are part of my team in sales doing technical project management. They both started out as data scientists doing work in the field. They now are helping clients as we work on projects and design them. And so it's great to have that continuity of knowledge and people who have really seen all sides of the project. So why don't you go ahead and go to the introduction here, Jen? All right, so, you know, one of the things Hertzler Systems tagline is data into knowledge. And so we all have a lot of data. You can put on the control charts, you can put in a histogram, but can you, what kind of a picture can you paint with that data? And what Jen is going to show us today is just a few of the ways that you can really make a control chart sing, so to speak, or you know, by grouping data, things like that, to really get from just that data to knowledge. And so I'm not going to talk a whole lot more here. Here's some of the things she's going to be looking at, how different charts are available, how to use anchor points, and then some things in terms of dashboards and some simple dashboards you can work on. So that's enough for me. Jen, why don't you take it away?
All right. Hey, I hit the right button and it takes me right to where I want to go. Never happens. So what I wanted to do, just like Phil said, is, you know, hopefully most of us on here, we can produce a chart. And what I have on here is I have one of my tour data charts. It's actually my favorite one. The E34KB, that's my part number, and this happens to be diameter X. I have no anchor point grouping, no grouping at all, just the last so many pieces of data, right? And we look at this, and obviously there's something going on here. The different things we can do to the chart can really better display what's going on than just let's just see a control chart. So a couple of things I wanted to show you is how easily we can use some of the tools that GainSeeker has. One of the first things is anchor points. And anchor points, you can see, is kind of like a line in the sand. And we do have two here. I'm not grouped by them. I'll show you the difference in how we can tell when we're grouped by them in just a second. But what are anchor points? In these examples, I even have a little note here. And, you know, I can double click and it takes me to a data table and highlights that data point. And I said, I tightened something on the machine. I'm very specific in this, right? So at least I know I made an adjustment. And over here again, instead of double clicking, I can click and hold, and I can tell, oh, I slowed the belt down here. So when you do things that are on machine base, for example, but you didn't like change the lot or change material, so nothing that's in traceability, it's a good way to use an anchor point. So the first thing I can do, and I'm old school, so I always right click. I keep forgetting we have these wonderful icons up here, so I'm going to try to remember to do that. You can either right click if you're like me, or you can click up here and do a group sort, and I'll just sort or group by anchor point. So the data looks basically the same, but what it does is it actually calculates any of the statistics in your control limits per group, right? So now we see I've got a group 1, 2, 3, right? Almost like 3 different charts here. And it's showing me that my points 28 through 80, a little bit bigger spread. But you know, after I tightened something on that machine, my process did get a little tighter. But you see that there's something else going on. But it does help and show that we have, you know, different calculations, and you can see that. Another thing we can do, which hopefully everybody on here has done, is grouping, right? We can manually group, right? Going back up to the group, and we can group by a traceability. So I could do shift, machine, anything that I have data in there for. Your traceability is obviously going to be different. If I didn't know what traceability to do, I could obviously run our wizard. But since I have practiced, I do know. If I now group by cavity, we can easily see it's the same data, but now I've just totally changed the meaning of it just by grouping on something different. So now I know cavity 4, I've got an issue with it. So easy, I could just say, well, we got to scrap all the parts for cavity 4 instead of just scrapping everything because I didn't know what was going wrong. And that's simply by using some of the tools on the same parts of data. Phil, would you like to enhance that?
Yeah, well, I was just going to reinforce a point that we talked about earlier, and I love this example because you really took us through the process of taking that data and turning it into knowledge, right? I mean, we had raw data. Yes, you could see there were things out, and we did a little bit of sorting on it. We could see from those anchor points, but then you did one more sort there, and we got to the place where, hey, I now have knowledge. Cavity 4 is my problem. And you know, whatever that would be based on the traceability and such.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Phil. And, you know, if I go back and I now know that these down here were all cavity 4, well, what would my process look like if I could eliminate those calculations, right? Or I'm sorry, those data points. So I can click and drag, and I'm not sure how well it shows. Does it show my little dotted lines on here?
No, it doesn't.
Well, pretend I'm clicking and holding these bottom points, just dragging a box over them, and I'm going to bypass them temporarily. Now I can do it from statistics and charts. So it looks, and now I can see all my calculations without those. And I did it temporarily, and I encourage, if you guys do this, that you choose that as well. And as soon as I hit F5, that they come back. And you see my control lines are different. The other thing that you can do there, again, I'm dragging, is you can just say, I still want to see them on there, but now I can see they're grayed out. So I'm taking them, I'm excluding them from my calculations. So I know cavity 4 has issues, but other than that, how's my process going? Is there anything else I need to do? Are we, you know, are we on track?
Yeah, I like that view because it makes it so obvious, you know, where those problems are coming from. So Jen, kind of the stupid question of the day for anybody who's out there and maybe has a little less experience with GainSeeker, how do I create those anchor points?
Good question. So one, if your operator, if you have doing data entry and your operator's doing it, and he knows that something happened at that time. In your notes in there, whether you're using templates or inspections, there's a little spot to do boop, anchor point. And I encourage, and what I can do here, I can just go to edit data, and then it's in here in the notes. I can make it after the fact, right? I can make one an anchor point. And
Okay.
I always encourage, unless somebody has a process where an anchor point is only during certain times, follow it with a note. Make it
Sure.
meaningful. Make it so you know why you have an anchor point there.
So data entry obviously is one of the most common where people are putting anchor points, but somebody doing analysis can put an anchor point in there as well. Or if like after the fact, they know that something changed, a lot changed or process changed, someone down the line could put an anchor point in there as a notation.
Absolutely.
Super.
Thanks, Phil. So I'm going to hit F5. All my data comes back again. Other things you can do to have the same data just look different is by using different charts. Control charts, kind of universal. You can easily go up here with duplicate, and I've already got a data table back there. Combination chart, so you get the I say the best of both worlds, but there's actually three things going on here. You've got your control chart, you have your histogram, and below that you have statistics. And yes, you can configure that to however you want to see there. So just by doing some duplicating, we can have a different way to look at the same data. I was going to say, okay, anybody have any questions on that? But if you have questions, go ahead in the chat box and the Q&A. And I will go to the next thing that I wanted to see here. Another way to make this same data look a little more appealing is in the settings. Again, I'm on that right clicker. Down in the bottom right, we have what we call chart skins. We've had some lectures and some demonstrations on it, so I don't want to go too much into it. We've got generic ones that we give you, and you can apply it, and it just makes it look different. So if you have to do a bunch of control charts and you need to PowerPoint them, but you want them visually appealing, your logo, your customer's logo, anything like that, you can really make a chart pop and people are going to be drawn to it. The nice thing about these is if you go back to settings, anything in blue here is what we changed to make this particular chart skin. And you can always change it, modify it, save it, create your own. And then just to let you know, this print chart, a lot of times people are like, oh, that's great. I went here, I tried these, and well, now how do I get it going back? Well, one, you can exit out of the charts module. It kind of forgets everything you're doing. Or you can just go back and choose the print chart, and then it takes it back. All right. So these are just a couple of things that you can do, or to look at your data, to analyze the data, to make it either more appealing or to dig down deeper. And like Phil had said, turn that data into knowledge, make it meaningful. What is it really telling you? So there's a lot of things you can do to manipulate that. Another way is by using dashboards. So we know charts, great way when we're looking at particular characteristics or one or two at a time, but when you kind of want to see something on a bigger scale, you don't know if you want to look at pressure or temperature, kind of looking for something out of whole. What is the worst performing? What's going on with what I'm doing today or this week or last week? So then you can think about dashboards. Because dashboards here, we can have, in the example that I'm going to show you, I'm not even selecting one or two characteristics. I'm asking for a time period, and I'm asking for the ones that I need to look at. And so I have what I call a big data widget dashboard here. So I'm going to open this up. It's nothing fancy. I could create this in less than a minute, which is nice, knowing that these things are modules, control modules within the dashboard. And this big data widget, it's crunching, it's going through the time period and any filters that I wanted. And I just said, let's look at all of my data because I have tour data and I don't have a lot. And it's going through our variation wizard, and it's going through, and obviously the ones with the most issues are going to be at top. And if I scroll down, I can start seeing, okay, I got a little bit better performance coming over here. But the nice thing is it's visually appealing. Oh, red, it's catching my eye. I can say, oh, okay, group by lot. You know, there's a significant difference of the spread and mean. One button, there I go. There's my control chart. You know, just going right quick to it. So noticing that I'm grouping by lot, I've got some things going on here. Going back to my dashboard, this is what you call a dashboard grid. And without it, I kind of forgot to take the colors off, but you still have the same amount of data. And maybe that's what I'll do here real quick. Show you how easy it is to do these things here. No colors. Right? Request while you wait here. So it's nice. I can still click on real-time failure and it's sorting by it. You can see that my out of round, I mean, I have 117 failure counts, but without the colors, doesn't really mean a whole lot. I mean, it does, but it's not capturing my eye. So I was like, you know what? Maybe just putting in colors can make it more meaningful. And so I go in here into my table settings. And the nice thing is I can choose how I want the colors to be defined. So when I choose it, I'm going to say, I'm going to do region colors. And I'm going to say, you know, if there's 0 to 3 real-time failures, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to say that that's green. Then I can say, okay, but, you know, 4 to 12, yeah, we're kind of getting there. And these numbers might not mean anything to you. You can obviously choose your own. And then I can say, you know, 13 to however many we're going to go, and we're going to hit red. So just that quickly. And I'm choosing to have this color only in this column. I could do it for the whole grid. Just right click and save. And again, greens, let's click it so I can see. And now instead of all that data and not really knowing where I need to focus, now I can see I've got, you know, just over half dozen there that I really need to look at. And nobody make fun of me that this CPK here is 0. I can go ahead. Oops. Yes, go ahead. I can view the data behind it. I can chart on it.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you want to go do some charts. Something we had talked about, Jen, and you had in your outline was duplicating charts, and you skipped over that or you jumped over that. I don't know if you want to go back and catch that here. We've got about 10 minutes left.
So I did go through the duplicating, but what I didn't go through is one, we can tile these. And let's say that this is something that I have for current month or previous week. And I've made my colors, I've made my filters, my date ranges. This whole selection is what I want to see every Monday morning before I go into a quality meeting. The great thing I can do is save as a desktop, right? And so what that's doing is it's saving all my settings that I took the time to do. So when I go and I close all the way out of here, and let's say I close out, come back, or now it's Monday morning, I can go and open this. Cows are trying to peek from the background. And I have all that data, except for it's going to refresh as long as I use the flexible date period and have everything that I need. And of course, my dashboard's part of that too. So don't think that you have to do only charts. So it's really anything that you have in this window that you save, all these tabs. It, it did the dashboard as well.
Yeah, so a really powerful way to get some visualizations, tell those stories you want to tell, bring them back up, have those retrieved on a regular basis.
Yep. And then again, don't forget, just kind of showing the things that we have out there. We have a slideshow. So it would just kind of rotate through any of the charts that you have up. If you have our server edition, which we have recently renamed to publish, then you can actually have these files exported out and you can use them with another device, displaying device. And then just a click kind of sets us back here.
All right, fantastic. What other, do we have any other questions, folks? I know some of you out there have used GainSeeker for a while. Anything else you have in terms of how we work with visualization? Some of the Hertzler folks on there, things we didn't point out that we ought to point out here this afternoon?
And while you guys are feverishly typing, just trying to throw more knowledge out there, right? My last few minutes to be with you guys is statistic lists. Sometimes you think it's just default and you can't do what you want. You can modify. You can have your own. You can have many different sets of statistics. And I've got one here called all stats. And if you guys have never taken a look at all these statistics that we have, it's crazy. There's tons of them. And the great thing is, if you have one that is special, it's top secret equation calculations, we let you create your own stat and then you can include it in there. So, yeah, we do have custom stats. Takes a little Python, but definitely can help you out with that too. So if there's something that you're not showing on a chart or a dashboard because we don't have it, talk to us. Chances are we can get it in there for you.
So I did get a request to maybe run this data through the variation wizard. And while we took a more kind of a human applied method, how would the software do the same thing and get us to our cavity 4 problem?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, gosh, I'm always right click. We have wizard right here. Right, and choose everything looks good. And yes, obviously it's going to rank cavity first, but let's look at shift. Shift is the second one, just for something different. And if you chose not the top one, you can see that we're still having some issues in all the ones, so you would know. Now the nice thing is I can go back here, and now that I have started a variation wizard, and go back to it or start a new one, right? And say, okay, well, all right, Mr. Variation Wizard, that's, yeah, you are right, of course. And the other things that you can do when you have anything grouped is you can actually do new charts for a particular group. So if I wanted to just see cavity 4, I can do that as well.
Shazam, that's great. Yeah, we really work so hard at just having things a couple clicks away. And we've, it's one of the great things about GainSeeker. It's been out there. We've had so many great suggestions from users, and as well as so many talented people at Hertzler Systems. We've gotten it so that just about, if you can imagine it, it can do it. And that's a great example, Jen. You know, we've gotten it down. We've gotten, hey, 4 is the problem. Click, click, here's 4. And that's really powerful. Great stuff. All right, anybody else? You got us here. All right, why don't you go ahead.
Didn't do too bad, and I know I always talk fast. So
why don't you go ahead and pull up? Yep, get
slides
on there, and we'll trying to remember our next topic. I think next month we're looking at 9.5, which is our current version out there.
Hey,
yeah. What do you know? So we released GainSeeker 9.5 here recently, and for our next Tech Tips Live, we will be focusing on those new changes in that. Again, third Thursday, 2 o'clock. It's the 15th, so it's about the earliest third Thursday you can possibly have, but that's when it will be. So hope you can join us again then. I have had, I know a couple of you experienced it. We had some problems with our Microsoft Teams webinars, so some of those links need to be recreated. So we'll let you know when all that is done, and you'll be able to get signed up for things. But again, Jen, thank you so much. Thanks for taking us on this, giving us this little tour of ways that GainSeeker takes data and makes it into knowledge. And thanks to those of you who came and joined us this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, the rest of August, and hope to see you all in September.
Thank you, guys.